I've got right.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall, and welcome back, Adam Martin. I rudely cut you off to start the video. We were talking about Dallas-Detroit tonight, right?
I've got a bet builder to write. Okay? I've got to write some stuff. I just wanted to know what your opinion. But you said Detroit. You think Detroit are going to win, despite the fact that they're having a bit of a rough time of it.
I know. I feel like I need a balance back win, and Dallas do feel like they're on fire at the minute.
Interesting. There you go.
Well, once that article hits and you get paid, you guys cut the share with your man here because I've just given you the beautiful insight that Detroit are going to win.
I know. The problem is that I've already written half of the article and I've gone the other way.
Why do you think so?
Dallas.
They're just on a burner at the minute.
Yeah, I think so. One thing I noticed, I did have a look at this. This is me being a little bit over analytical, but there is something in this. Dallas Cowboys, 376 average yards they've given up over this season, every game. In the last 3 games, which were 3 wins against the Raiders, Chiefs, and Eagles, they have only given up 312, which would put them just outside the top 10.
Okay.
And Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown's out, Sam Laporta's out. Doesn't bode well, does it?
I didn't realize Amon-Ra's out.
Well, they haven't officially announced he's out, but he's out.
Looking that way. Well, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast at this time. Make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube, and also follow us on all podcast platforms as well as all of our social media as well. We've just been looking at analytics, and thank you very much for all the views on our cut video, I suppose, of the Rams. Feels like that's gone a bit wrong now after they lost to the Carolina Panthers, but 500 plus views on that. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. So yeah, keep up the good work, and please keep sharing our content. We love doing it, and it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, and the more people view it, the better for us, and we love it. But that's not going to be the focus tonight. The Rams are sort of a focus at the moment, I suppose, within what we're talking about. But there's 3 divisions that we've picked out that they're becoming really tight now, and it's starting to now, looking at their schedule, these divisions could really flip, and they could completely all change, really. And it has massive playoff implications, huge playoff implications. I'm not going to give them all away because you might hear the 3 and go, well, I don't want to listen to that. So, just for the element of keeping you engrossed in our podcast and our show, we'll start with the AFC North, the division I know all about as being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And at the minute, 6-6 Ravens are on top after a horrendous start to the season. 6-6 for the Steelers. The Bengals going 4-8, and the Browns 3-9 over the weekend. 36-7 loss the Steelers had against the Buffalo Bills. There was a division matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Baltimore Ravens 32-14 on Thanksgiving. Also, happy Thanksgiving. We haven't said that. I hope everyone enjoyed it, whether it be in the UK or in America. And lastly, the San Francisco 49ers beating the Cleveland Browns 26-8. Now, I think it would have been stupid of most people to have wrote off the Ravens. They were getting really bad injuries. Their defense was sort of reverting back to that bad defense that we complained about. I mean, at the end of last season, we said their defense is going to be the one that unlocks what is a fantastic offense. And, they were out Lamar for 1 week. You have injuries, but to write them off would have been incredibly stupid. And they've completely flipped now, and they've got to the top of the division. The Steelers, I mean, boy, it's rough.
Been having a fun time, have you?
I mean, as soon as Aaron broke his wrist,
yeah,
I was just like, well, this is season over. Even if he plays, you just can't play to the same ferocity. Not that there was that much ferocious play in him at all this year either. That is harsh though, because he has played well. You've got to agree with that.
I think he's been decent. I think he's been decent for you guys. And I mean, look, in the nicest possible way. It's not hard to be better than some of the quarterback play you've had over the last couple of years, but I
Mm.
think that he's done well, and he's shown the reason why he's a coveted veteran, isn't he, to have in your team. So yeah, it's a shame that although the Steelers in general have struggled a little bit, it's just a shame that it's happened at this time in the season for him.
Yeah. Let's maybe sort of focus a little bit on each team for a segment. I
Yeah.
suppose we'll stick on Steelers for a minute. Go back to the Ravens. I started with the Ravens. I mean, with the Steelers, you say, oh, at this point in the season, it's always this point in the season. We did not end well. Quite consistently, we have not been ending the season well, and it's just more of the same. This is the pound the drum all off season and all this season for this. We're gonna go the same record, aren't we? We're gonna maybe this might be a losing record for once, but we're gonna go around 500 again. And
Yeah.
we look at all the
Yeah.
moves we made in the offseason. DK, Jalen Ramsey, bringing in Aaron. What more is it going to be? Now, I know Tomlin's getting a lot of flack for this, and I think people are very much earmarking him for he may go New York next year, which I think's a very pie in the sky idea. But I think you got to put some of this on the front office as well. You think about the drafts we've had the last few years. I mean, every O lineman has not really come up, apart from the center, Frazier. He's been pretty decent. The
Yeah.
O line we've had to chop and change all the time. Our drafting's not been good there. Joey Porter's played subpar compared to the hype. Najee Harris didn't work. Jalen Warren was a steal, admittedly. Washington has now become something because they're using him in the right way. Nick Herbig is pretty okay. I quite like Nick Herbig, but he's not a Highsmith or a Watt. And Keanu, the guys in the middle. I mean, Harmon this year has been in and out. Has not been consistent enough. Been decent, but not consistent enough. And I just don't know if the owners should be exactly on Mike Tomlin anymore. I've listened to something today, and it sort of opened my eyes a little bit to this change at GM that we had a few years ago, and actually, you know, what's really happened with this team?
It is weird, isn't it? Because the whole narrative that we've had on the Steelers is, you only bring in Aaron Rodgers if you think you're going for it. That's kind of the logical reason behind it. And I know a lot of people felt that he had, passed his best, and but he's still the sort of quarterback that can elevate a team. You can see that when he plays. So it feels a little bit like, oh, they're going all in. They've traded for DK Metcalf, which feels like a bit of an all-in sort of trade. And, like you say, Jalen Ramsey, these sort of players, these are veteran players that you only bring in if they only come because they think that they've got a chance of winning something. But you haven't. It's a weird one because it feels like they've gone all in, but they actually haven't, have they? Not at all. When you actually look at it, they've traded away George Pickens, which is like, they got a pick back for that. But if you actually look, I just quickly had a look on Tankathon for next year's draft. You've got a first, second, third, fourth. This isn't a team that's gone all in. It's just this is a team that's kind of just got older and brought in players that you feel like is going to all in, but in reality, it's not. And
Mm.
it just feels a little odd that they've done that, and it it's just not really doing anything. It's like dipping your toe in the water, isn't it, rather than
Mm.
actually going for it. And it does feel a little bit like if if you never go for it, I think you're just always going to be 9-8 or 8-9,
Yeah,
but normally 9-8 when it
yeah.
comes to Tomlin. I think that's what you're dealing with. And I suppose when you think about it in that way, when you're saying about, a lot of people feel that it's Tomlin, it's time for him to move off.
Mm.
In reality, it just kind of feels like you've got a head coach there that's doing everything he can with what he's got. But in reality, has he actually got enough? Have you ever actually given him the
Mm.
opportunity to really go for it?
Well, 17 years is long in any sport. Like,
Yeah.
it's long in any sport. That is in the era we're in now, that's so unheard of. So
Mm.
unheard of. And I think sometimes it is just natural just to break up with a team like that. And I don't know, maybe for the good of the franchise. I don't know. I think it's such a head scratcher. I mean, we'll talk about sort of where we're thinking they're going to end up in by the end of the season in a moment. But we will briefly go back to the Ravens. But I don't think we need to stick too long on the Ravens. We know what this team is. They're finding their way again. Lamar's great. He has his moments. I admit. I know they lost against the Bengals, but it's more. I would focus on that result of it's more a Bengals thing of this team's really, 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 really good with Joe Burrow. And if you don't have Joe Burrow, you're not very good. It's all good having T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but if you haven't got a quarterback that can throw to them, it's
Yeah.
pointless. I don't mind Chase Brown. I don't see Chase Brown as a big time running back. I think he's decent. I think he would do wonders in a dual system of a big physical guy and a small quicker guy. I don't think he's incredible. And their defense is really bad. But when sometimes it doesn't click like it didn't for the Ravens on Thanksgiving, you're going to get results like this. And the Ravens defense, though we said it has improved, it's got kinks to work out. They're missing some big guys. They're missing big guys, aren't they? They are. They're missing big guys.
Yeah, I look, I think the issue with the Ravens, and this is what has always kind of been the problem for quite a long time, is that they're a run first team. On the
Mm,
offense, they are a run first team, and they just sometimes they just seem to give up on it so quickly. It's really weird. It's like, against that Bengals team, who the defense has been pretty poor all season, but it's so bizarre that you would have Derrick Henry there, who's rushing and getting 5, 6 yards at the beginning, every carry. They go 7-3 up because of a Derrick Henry run for like 25, 30 yards or something. And you just give up on that. He only had 10 carries in the whole game. It's like,
mm,
what are you doing? That makes no sense. Lamar, I'm not sure with Lamar. I think he's still injured. There's something not right there. He's not 100% clearly, and I think that was the problem. And they just found themselves behind. So I think that's the issue with the Ravens. That they do have some issues on defense, of course. I mean, what team doesn't have some injuries on
mm,
defense at the moment? But yeah, I think they just need to stick with their game plan. As for the Bengals, yeah, I agree. It's all Joe Burrow, isn't it? That's
mm.
that's what you're dealing with. I mean, you saw that with Flacco, there were times when they were putting up big numbers and were doing well, but there's only so much you're going to get from Flacco over a season, and he's limited because of that. And that's just how it is. So yeah, it's great having Chase and Higgins, but without Burrow, like you say, it does fall apart. And it's bizarre because we've reached the point of where we are with 5 weeks left to go. And although the Bengals are they're 4-8,
They're 4 and
and you've
8.
got yeah, and the
I've
Ravens and
got
Steelers are both 6-6. It's like it's not out the question
mm,
that they could come through and
yeah.
like they've got 5 games left. They could win all five.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that's ambitious to win all 4. I mean,
Yeah, I agree, but they
schedule-wise,
could.
they're at the Bills, they host the Ravens, they're at the Dolphins, they host the Cardinals and the Browns. Like I said, we'll talk maybe a bit more about the ending of that in a moment and talk about that the scheduling for all of them.
Yeah,
And then the Browns losing to the 49ers again, 26 points I mean, the 49ers were playing very well offensively. I truly you get the quarterback right in Cleveland,
yeah,
this could be a team. This could be a really good team. Like, I hate to say that, but their defense is elite. Their defense is fantastic.
yeah,
And even though they had 26 points against them, it's because the offense doesn't do anything. Your defense is only as good as the amount of time they have, also the time to recover. If you're out there constantly because the offense can't move the ball down the field and can't gain points, that attrition is going to set in. That attrition is going to set in, and they are a quarterback away. They really are. I think they need some O linemen. I do think they need some O linemen, but they've
yeah.
got stud in Quinton Judkins. I think Harold Fannin and Njoku, if Njoku sticks around, is a really good combination. I'm out on Judy. I'm not big on that other lad either, whose name is escaping me.
Tillman,
Cedric Tillman, that's the one.
Cedric
I'm not
Tillman. Yeah.
big on him. So yeah, they go out and get their quarterback. They could really do something. But the problem is we've seen good quarterbacks come and go from there when they're doing pretty successful. And like, it sounds silly. Should you just kept Joe Flacco for a bit? In
I
hindsight,
don't think it. I mean, I suppose it depends, kind of like what the theory is. I mean, when you draft two quarterbacks like they did last year, you have to give them opportunities to play. You can't just draft them and sit them and do nothing. Like when you're in that situation that they're in, I think it's very Cleveland is a bit of a rare situation where it's almost like if you're going to have a veteran quarterback like Flacco, and then you don't, and then you draft two other guys, there's no future in Flacco, is there? So it's almost like you have to give these other two an opportunity at some point. And I think that you're seeing. I think we've seen with Dylan Gabriel that it's not he's just not the starter. I think with Sanders, I think there's been in the short time he's been out there, I think we've seen more from him than what we have seen from Gabriel. That doesn't mean that I think he should be the starter for him, but I think it means that he has an opportunity. He has potential there to be there. Um, but at the same time, it's not like, oh, he like next year he's going to come in and it's all going to be rosy. They're not suddenly going to be great. So I think that's what the problem is. It's like they need, with this defense as good as it is now, they need the guy now, which is
yeah,
kind of what the whole Deshaun Watson logic was. And of course, look what happened. So that they're still going to be paying that off next year. So that I just don't think it's going to happen for them, because I think by the time they maybe get the guy or draft the guy, it's going to be too late on the defense.
yeah, they've got key guys that are getting older.
Yeah.
So I just said the Bengals schedule, and then the Browns, they are hosting the Titans, at the Bears, hosting the Bills, hosting the Steelers, and at the Bengals. The Ravens are hosting the Steelers next week, at the Bengals, hosting the Patriots, at Green Bay, and then at the Steelers. And then Steelers are at the Ravens, as just stated, hosting Miami, at Detroit, at Cleveland, and then hosting Baltimore to end out the season. I think when I've looked at that, I haven't got a team that has a winning record.
What, over the 5 weeks?
I've not got a team that has a winning record.
I think the Bengals, they've got the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Browns. I think that they will probably win them three. Ravens, they've just beaten at the Ravens. So you could argue there's that. I think the Bills might be tough, especially away. So I quite like the Bengals to be able to get to 8, 7 or 8. I think that's doable. The Browns, I don't think will do much really.
I've got the Browns go 5-12.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
probably fair enough. The Ravens, as you say, they've got to play the Steelers, Bengals, Patriots will be a tough one.
I
Packers,
think
obviously.
I've got them losing to the Patriots. I think.
Yeah, I could see that. Away to the Packers, I think will be a tough one.
They lose that, to be honest.
Yeah, so I mean, I think with the Ravens, it could be very, very difficult for them to. They might get 2. I think they win one of the games against the Steelers. They probably go 1-1. Maybe they get something from one of the others, but it's tough. So I think that's really difficult. And then the Steelers, if they, like I say, they go 1-1 with the Ravens, so they get one there. The Steelers I mean, it depends if Aaron Rodgers is playing or not and what's happening with him. But going against the Lions, I think will be difficult. Going against they should be beating the Dolphins at home.
I think that's the only one we win.
I think you get one of the games against the Ravens.
I don't know. I don't know.
So you've got,
I'm
to me, I think you've got two. So there's a lot of 8 and 9 teams around, and I I can't feel confident on any of them. That's the problem. Is it's incredibly difficult to think where it's going to go. I think we're probably going to have to wait like a week or two and see what
mm,
happens. Obviously, the Steelers and Ravens are playing each other next week, so I think that'll be a huge game that will tell us a lot. And then the Bengals have got the Ravens in 2 weeks' time, so I think that might tell us what exactly we're dealing with here. But I
with
mean,
Burrow back as well.
yeah, and this is the thing. I think with Burrow back, you saw the difference against the Ravens, and I think that tells you quite a lot.
Mm,
Um, and this is why I probably feel quite confident that they will win games. Problem is, obviously, they're 2 games behind, aren't they? The other two, so that's
yeah.
where the issue is. But yeah, I mean, I
I've
don't know. I
I've
genuinely
I've
don't.
I've got I've got the Ravens and the Bengals going 8 and 9.
Okay, when the Steelers
And then
7
I've
and
got
10.
Steelers going 7 and 10 and the Browns going 5 and 12, which is crazy to think that there might not be a winning.
Yeah.
That sort of says that the division's bad, but
Mm,
Browns with no quarterback, Steelers have been poor. Defense has been incredibly inconsistent. Bengals have been without Burrow for most of the season. And Lamar's not quite right this year in terms of injury and coming back from
yeah.
injury as well. So the variables are there. I mean, no one would have said at the start of the year that the AFC, I mean, a lot of people at the start of the year said the AFC North going to have 3 teams going in, being the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Steelers.
Yeah.
And
It's been a
now,
massive drop off this year.
yeah, now there'll be one. And because
Yeah.
I don't think 8 and 9 at the second spot
No,
gets you in. It
no.
does not get you in the AFC. Not at the moment. Not at the
No,
moment.
I think the Ravens are probably the team most likely to scrape over the line and get it, and get through. And the Bengals are going to be in the same situation that they have been in for the last few years, where it's just that thing where if you had just bothered to invest in a backup, then maybe you might have got a couple more wins. If they had bothered to invest in, say, like Mac Jones and had him sit behind Joe Burrow, that might
Yeah.
have just got him a couple of wins during that time that Burrow was out injured. And,
Because
who knows?
I'm sorry to say it's unpopular opinion. Burrow's injury prone. Like you've got to say that now. He is an injury
Yeah,
prone quarterback.
I mean,
He's consistently been injured
yeah, he
since he's been in the league.
has. I personally think it's because the O line has been awful and they're
Yeah.
just not protecting him enough. But he's getting hit so much that that's why he's getting the injury. So it does almost become a bit like he is injury prone because
Mm.
of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're not going to invest in the O line properly, you got to invest in a backup because he will go down.
Right. I'm going to move us on to the next division that we think is starting to flip and heat up and is incredibly tight at the top with the top 3 teams, and that's the AFC South. It was an all AFC South matchup over the weekend, actually, wasn't it? Which I didn't
Yeah,
realize until I was doing research. I was like, "Oh right, well the AFC South teams play each other. It was their week to all play each other." The Jacksonville Jaguars obviously came up on top against the Tennessee Titans, 25-3. And then the Houston Texans in that really close game against Indianapolis Colts won 20-16. And we said it last week. We did a segment on it. It's worrying time for the Colts. It's worrying time.
yeah,
You look. I won't stick on the Colts too long because we did a whole section on it last week, and I don't want to rinse and repeat. But they've got an incredibly tough schedule to close out the season. You're putting in the hand of Daniel Jones, where we're seeing it's not overly working when you put it in his hands. You've got to put it in Jonathan Taylor's hands. That's how you win games. However, I did come up with the 5-2 when Daniel Jones has thrown more, but that is stats on a piece of paper. You also got to look at who they've beaten, of which we said last week. They've not really beaten anyone. They've lost to the teams that are good as well, apart from the Chargers, and they beat the Texans early doors. They beat the 49ers early doors. And they beat the Chiefs, I suppose, but people don't think the Chiefs are all that good. So we won't stick on the Colts too long. Like I said, we're just rinsing and repeating that, aren't we, really? The Jags, you know what? I say that. I've completely read that wrong. That's the Jag schedule I've just read. So they beat the Broncos, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's it, really. Sorry, I've just read the Jags schedule rather than the Jags. We'll flip on to the Jags though.
The Colts have beaten the Broncos and the Chargers.
Yes,
Um, but that's as good as it's got, really. Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's as good as it's got.
And they've won one of the last one, two, three, four. One of the last four. They've lost the Steelers, the Chiefs in
Yes.
overtime. Now the Texans.
Yeah.
Back on the Jags though. Seems I was just reading their schedule incorrectly. I They're a really weird team, aren't they? Like really strange because their defense is pretty all right. It's pretty okay.
Yeah.
Their wide receivers, I mean, Travis Hunt now out for the year, obviously. That's been the last few weeks. Brian Thomas sort of got a little bit ignored for a good portion of this season, even though he was meant to be sort of the breakout star of this season. We saw Liam Cohen come in, and you looked at what he did with the offense with Baker in Tampa, and you're like, wow, like Trevor Lawrence with his offense, with that offensive mind, this could be fireworks. Even though we know they're the Jacksonville Jaguars, it could be fireworks because still subscribe to believe that Trevor Lawrence has got something. I do think he has. Am I like I just but and then they run the ball pretty okay. Their O line's not too bad. Like everything's just not that bad. I don't think. Whereas people, I think, like to think that they're really bad, but I just think that they're a really puzzling team. Like I said, they've only lost to the Bengals, the Texans, the Seahawks, and the Rams. The Seahawks and the Rams, good teams. Texans division game, good team. Bengals, that was when Burrow was playing at that point, right? That was week 2, so you would
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
yeah. And they lost. It was close. They lost 31 to
That was the
20.
one he got injured in, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe so. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
31 to 27. So that was a close game. And then, I mean, close with Seattle 20 to 12. I mean,
Yeah.
Texans game the other week was 36-29. I just think I just don't really know what to think about this team, to be honest with you. They have the capability to blow out this division, and then they have the capability to not make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, so the only real blowout that they've had was in London against the Rams. That was the real sort of like the downside, and they went on their bye afterwards. And then after that bye, there's been a real sort of like turnaround where the offense, the lowest score that they've hit is 25, which was last week, and they do seem to have turned things around offensively since then. And they have gone up against some good defenses during that time. They've played the Texans and put 29 points on them. They've played the Chargers and put 35 points on them. So the offense is clearly there's been a difference. And I think defensively they've been I think the best word for the Jags is all right
Mm.
defensively.
Yeah.
They're not a top 10, but they're kind of in the middle of the league and they're doing
They
okay.
cause you some problems. They cause you some
Yeah,
problems
yeah,
on the road.
exactly, and I think that's probably fair that that's where they are. Where the problem is, and actually, in fairness to them, it does feel like they've sorted this out a little bit since the bye week. Before the bye, it felt like they won one, then lost one, and you never really knew what you were going to get, and it was a bit all over the place. Since the bye week, like I said, they scored a lot more points. They've won what 4 out of 5
Yeah.
weeks in after the bye, and they just generally look a little bit of a better team than what they were. Now, the one thing that you've got to take into account with them is that they're very, very good against the run, not very good against the pass. But you're going up against the Colts team twice in these next 5 weeks. You've also
Mhm.
got the Jets and the Titans, which are teams that they should be beating.
Yeah.
So it does feel like,
Broncos is that one where I'm like, that's
yeah, yeah,
doubtful. You're gonna
that's
lose that
that's a
game.
tough one.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, the idea that this Jacksonville team could potentially be 12-5. I
It's
mean,
outrageous, isn't it?
it says a lot about the standard of the NFL at the
Mm.
moment.
It does. I mean,
Mm.
well, I won't reveal too much, but I've got them plus 10 wins. I've got
Yeah.
them plus 10 wins because I just think that there's not loads to like. There's not loads to dislike. They've got the weapons. They've got the ammunition. They've got the head coach.
Mm.
I don't think Liam Cohen's done a bad job at all. I think what he
No.
needs is a very strong defensive minded head coach to sort of complement him and allow him to be a little bit more creative in what he wants to do, and that's
Yeah.
what he got with the head coach in Tampa. And I think he needs that complimentary. And his first time head coach. This is learning. This is training wheels stuff. But the problem is when you look at another offensive minded head coach over in the NFC North with Ben Johnson, the Bears, and how dominant he's been and how good it's going for them, you sort of then that's then the standard bearer, isn't it? And
Yeah.
then you sort of then go starting comparing them. But I think he's done an okay job, but he's done a good job with them. I think 8-4 can't be sniffed at, to be honest with you.
No,
You know,
no, not at all. And
the Bears are 8-3 in the NFC North, and everyone's like Ben Johnson's a mastermind. And you've taken this Jags team to an 8-4, and this team was picking in the top 5 of the draft last year, and
yeah.
so he's clearly better than what they had. He's clearly better than what they had.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, apologies.
The concern for me regarding the Jaguars is always going to be Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think that he's good enough. I mean, his pass completion percentage is under 60% this season, and I think that needs to be way higher if they've got any chance of being able to do anything. So it kind of feels a little bit like they're a team that are where they are because they haven't had to play that many difficult teams. And what will probably end up happening is that if they do make themselves a playoff team and they do get into the mix for it, that eventually they're going to come up against a strong defense, and that will be the end of them.
I'm sorry. I think you're a little bit wrong in the sense of who they beat, sort of thing. They beat the Texans week 3. They only just lose to the Bengals in week 2. They beat the 49ers. They beat the Chiefs. Okay, they lose to the Seahawks and they lose to the Rams in London. Like they're all pretty. That's a stretch there of what 2 4 5 games where they were 3-2. That's a pretty.
Yeah, I
That's a pretty
think
good stretch, to be honest.
I feel like I could come out with reasons as to why all of that's happened.
Yeah, I get where you're
That's
coming
that's the problem. I mean, the Chiefs one is a good win. I give like against the Chiefs, that is a good win. The 49ers, they were banged up like anything, had loads
from.
of injuries. The Texans, CJ Stroud's been awful most of the season.
Mm.
They've hardly done anything, and then they've gone and lost to the Seahawks and the Rams.
Is
So, there's
is that
not a lot.
is that what's holding back the Texans in the minute? I mean, they're 7-5, and their
Yeah,
defense
yeah, it
is
was not the defense. The
the
defense has been great
most
all
incredible
season.
defense going.
They look far more attacking with Davis Mills than what they have done with CJ Stroud. It's been really, really strange, and it's just not for whatever reason. It's just not working that great. Now I know they won last week and they beat the Colts. They did well, but that was largely due to the defense that sorted that out. I mean, you've got a Colts team that has done really, really well over these last few games, but as we saw, the way to stop the Colts is to stop the run. We saw that with the
Yeah.
Chiefs. We've now seen that with the Texans. Well, the Texans did that. That's how come the Colts only got 16. But the Texans are hardly putting up massive numbers, apart from against the Jags and the 49ers, in fairness. They did well against them. And the Ravens very early when the Ravens had all of them injuries.
Yeah, they won 44-10 in that one, yeah.
It feels like it's very defense heavy, and that's what's keeping them going, that's no bad thing. That a lot of teams, that's how they win and they get there. If anything, a lot of the teams that are very strong on the defense and maybe not so strong on the offense tend to be the ones that go on and can win.
Yeah.
But it does feel a little bit like if your defense is very good and you go up against another good defense, it's like if you took the Texans against the Broncos, both really good defenses, you sort of think to yourself, who would you take on the offense? Would you take Bo Nix or would you take
CJ Stroud?
CJ Stroud?
I'm
And I think
not
I'd take Bo Nix.
I'm not ready to be out on CJ Stroud though. He's got too much.
I wouldn't say I'm out on him. I just don't feel like it's happening this year.
He's dangerously trudging into Trevor Lawrence territory, isn't he?
A little bit.
That's
yeah,
that's the problem. He's not
and I actually think some of it is the play calling. you've got a
Mm.
defensive-minded head coach. A lot of it is quite conservative and a lot of
A
run.
lot of run
So
heavy.
I don't think it's all on Stroud.
And he has consistently. It's Nico Collins and no one else. I know they drafted the lads for the two rookies, but
Yeah,
they're not pulling up
Higgins and
trees.
Arthur.
And I know they sort of went off on Stephon Diggs and let him go, but having him almost did compliment Nico Collins a bit. And obviously they get consistently get injuries
Yeah,
at that position as well. But they just consistently get injuries at the running back position. But Willie Marks has been
yeah.
absolutely sublime this year. I mean, he's playing really, really well. I've I think I don't know. Do you think 9-8 gets you into the playoffs?
On the AFC side,
Mm. I don't think
let
it
me
does.
let me think. Does it get? No, I think it might be a bit tight. Just thinking,
We
what
got
have you got? You've got
say let's say division winners. So let's just call it what it is at the minute. I think so. Patriots, Ravens, um, Jags, and Denver, and then you've got Chargers, Chiefs, um, Bills, Colts, Texans, sort of coming up the rear. I suppose
yeah.
that's five.
I think 9 and 8. It's going to be tight,
Hmm.
isn't it, to get in on 9 and 8?
Yeah,
I think you're
that's
probably looking at 10.
that's what I've got the Colts at.
You
I
got the
think it'll
Colts
be
winning 10.
no, I've got them winning 9.
Oh, winning 9.
I think it'll be a colossal comeback to earth for them. I really do. I mean, they're at the Jags. I'm not sure they win that after losing 2 in a row. You know, you're pretty dejected. You're at Seattle. That's a loss for me. That's a
Where yeah, when we were talking about the Colts, we were saying these defenses they're going up against are very good against the run.
yeah, exactly. Jags. Then they host the 49ers, host the Jags at the Texans. I know we have one more team in this division. It's the Titans. They're going to win 2 games all year. It's 2-15. I think they might beat the Saints, and that's about it to close out. So
Okay.
they're not competing. But I've got the Jags and Texans, similarly to what I said for the AFC North on same records. Only they have 10+ wins. They both go 11-6.
Yeah, I think the Jags have got a very good chance of getting 4 more wins out of this. I think
So
that, like I said,
so just for because we've not really said it, the Jags are hosting the Colts, hosting the Jets, at the Broncos, at the Colts, hosting the Titans. So they beat the Jets, they beat the
yeah,
Titans, and I think they beat the Colts once, maybe.
right. So you've got them, yeah. So they
Yeah,
go 11 and 6. I think
yeah.
is probably fair.
And then Texans, I've got 11-6. They're at the Chiefs. I think they lose that. They host the Cardinals, host the Raiders. They win both of those. They're at the
Yeah.
Chargers, and I think they beat the Colts on the last game of the season.
What do you have them for the Chargers though? You haven't beaten the Chargers,
No, I'm losing against Chargers. So
right?
they lose 2
So
games. That's 11-6 as well.
no, they're 1 game short. They're 7 and 5 at the moment.
Okay, maybe I've got them maybe beating the Chargers or maybe beating the
Okay.
Chiefs. I don't know. Either way,
But
when I looked
the
earlier, I
point
took
is
11-6.
that they're probably 11. So you'd have the Jags at 11, the Colts at 10. I
Nah,
think that's that.
Colts at 9.
Sorry, the Texans at 10 and the
Yeah,
Colts at 9. I think that probably makes sense based on where they are. I must admit, I feel like at the moment the Colts are still favourites to win the division, which personally I think is just
it's
not
a big
priced up right. I think that's literally just been done because they've had a they've looked good and the numbers show that they've got a strong offense and that they've done well so far this season. But I think, like you say, they are dropping off a bit. And yeah, I mean, I kind of have Jacksonville winning it. I think that they will. I think they just sneak it past the Texans. I think the Texans probably don't beat the Chargers, and that's the difference there for me. But I think they both get in. I think 10 wins gets you in to the
yeah.
playoffs. But I don't think 9. I think it's too tight. So yeah, I
God,
think
when the Colts were what 7-1. What, 1, 2,
Well,
5
yeah, they
weeks?
were 7-1, 8-2, weren't they?
Yeah,
So
5 weeks ago, would you have gone, oh, well, actually, the Jags and the Texans are going to go 10 game
yeah,
plus wins and go to the playoffs, and the Colts
no.
won't
I mean,
with 9
that's
and
what's so mental about the way that the NFL works and how it can just flip like that. But yeah, it's a very tight division. But yeah, I've got the Jags winning it, and that's mental in itself.
The final division we're going to talk about is the NFC West, which is the most exciting division in football. It is the most exciting division in football in a minute. The Rams and the Seahawks are both 9-3. The 49ers are 9-4. Cardinals 3-9. Spoiler alert, I've got Cardinals win 7 games. So, that's still an okay season, I suppose, by Arizona Cardinal standards. But I mean, I know the Rams lost to the Carolina Panthers 28-31 after we went crazy about it over the weekend, of which, again, a lot of you watched it, which we're very, very thankful for. Like I said earlier, the San Francisco 49ers 26-8 beating the Cleveland Browns. The the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just beat out the Arizona Cardinals 2017. That was a really, really close game in the end. And Seattle demolished Minnesota Vikings 26-0. But obviously, no JJ McCarthy, and who they had whoever it was at quarterback. And I put in our group chat the name of the quarterback, and no one responded. So equally, none of you, my most knowledgeable friends within the NFL world, I feel anyway, had any
I had,
idea
heard,
who it was.
I think this is really bad of us. I think we did actually mention Matt Brosmer in the top 10 quarterbacks for the
Oh, really?
25 draft. So I think if you go back to that video somewhere in the ether, you will find we did mention him. But I wouldn't be able
I
to tell
apologize
you
to anyone
where he
listening,
was.
but there potentially some drilling noise in the background, which is out in my street. I do apologize. I'm sure it'll pass. Sorry.
I can't remember who he played for
Okay.
at
Well,
college. I can't
he
remember,
might be
but
on the
he
Vikings, but he didn't play for them.
yeah, yeah. So it was. Look, I mean, you got to remember they were more willing to have Carson Wentz, who was clearly broken in many places, to continue rather than have him come out when they played. But where was that? Was that the Dublin game or was that the London game where he was a mess? I
He
can't
was a
remember.
mess. No, he was okay in Dublin once. Like, he played
Maybe it
well.
was the London game he was struggling. No, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was when they were back, actually, thinking about it back in America. But yeah, it was that's how little they wanted to play Max Brosmal. So that
Well,
says a lot.
you chalk up another win for Seattle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so mad that a division can have 2 teams that that everyone in the league admires. Like, but
Yeah.
they've just got it right everywhere, haven't they? Front office, great. Head coach, great. Quarterbacks, Stafford's way better. Is not way better. I suppose that's a stretch. Is both very good quarterbacks, both very good defenses, both really good run games. Have got one plus. Well, what Jackson Smith and Jigba and Puka Nakua, even though Devontae Adams seems to be the person that Matthew Stafford seems to be going to, they've both got an X factor receiver. They're so similar in so many ways, aren't they? I mean, is McDonald's head coach of the year? And Seattle, they just drag you to a screen. You've got to watch them.
Yeah. They've been amazing all year. And I think, again, like you say, we spoke a lot about the Rams last week. But one thing we said about the Rams was that they are the best sort of like all-round team. They've literally got everything going in all areas, and it's working out really well for them. Well, the next team, just slightly below them, I would say, is the Seattle Seahawks, where again they have got everything going for them. They've got the defense is incredibly strong, doing really well. The offense has looked on fire. Sam Darnold has looked a little shaky sometimes, but nothing significant really. And, even the special teams, they come up with big plays on special teams as well. And they've been doing it all season. It feels like it's going to continue and that they will just keep this going now until the end of the season because apart from playing against the Rams, nothing's really slowed them down that much. I mean,
It was only
they've not.
21-19 against the Rams.
Yeah, it was just it kind of felt like the Rams defense did sort of slow them
In
down to
fact,
just field goals a lot of the time.
in
But
fact, their 3 losses was 17-13 the first week against the Niners,
yeah,
38-35 against the Bucks in week 5, and then that week 11 loss to the Rams. I mean, they're
they
close
could
game. I've said this.
yeah,
I said this for ages about Minnesota when they went on their winning streak. They turned from a team that the close games they started to win them close games,
yeah,
and that can really turn everything. It can turn everything when if you're 5-10 and you look at like 10 of them losses and 4 of them you could have won, 5 of them coming off, and you go, well, then we could have been 9-win team. Yeah, it is a game of fine margins. You look at, I mean, just to pick out some close games, beat the Cardinals by 3, lost to the Niners by 4, sorry. Beat the Cardinals by 3, lose by 3 to the Bucks, beat Jags by 8, lose to the Rams by 3. I mean, there's a few, and then they have some blowout ones. They have some, 44-22 beating the Cards, 26-0 against the Vikings over the weekend, 44-13 against the Saints. Okay, you can sort of go, well, people are putting. I don't think you can go, well, who they beat. They beat the Bucks. They didn't beat the Bucks. Bucks. They beat the Jags. They beat the Texans. They beat the Vikings, which are a viable team. I know their quarterback problems, but they are a viable team. I think Rams and the Hawks are the most trustworthy teams in the NFL. And then what's weird is you have the Niners who are in there, who almost I feel like a little bit untrustworthy because I'm just not sure, again, like them with the Jags. They've got some really elite everywhere, but they haven't been elite all season. They've obviously had the problems with the quarterback. Is Mac Jones better than Brock Purdy? That's a question, but people could maybe ask him. And Brock Purdy's value at the minute is skyrocketed. But you look on the Niners side of it, they beat the Hawks. They beat the Rams in overtime. They beat the Giants. The Giants is a good defense. They beat the Browns. The Browns are a really good defense. Like they have maybe a bit more notable wins, I suppose. Just the Niners. It's just the being so banged up, but they do seem to be getting. They've got these crazy unknown guys on their defense at the minute, that are performing, and it shows you when you have an organization that is just like head to toe class. That's what you get, isn't it?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, that like all 3 of them really. The kind of they've just got all of it. They've got it going. Everything is working as one. Everything is moving in the same direction, and they're all playing really, really well. And the only thing that you're seeing that is the difference between the 49ers and the other 2 is that the 49ers are just a wreck, with injuries. That's just what they are. And they've lost so many players at certain times. And you can see, and that's what's caused the problem, because when you actually look at it, the teams they've lost to, they've not been like they've not been bad teams. They haven't lost to a bad team. The Jaguars are kind of a bit, especially week 4, they were a little bit hit and miss.
I only lost by 5.
Yeah, so it's a bit unfortunate. But then you lose to the Buccaneers, good team. Another team themselves that have suffered from really bad injury. But at the time, they weren't too bad then, and it's like did okay. Lost to a Texans defense, which we have just been praising about how good they are, especially against the run. Losing to the Rams, another team in this division that's amazing. So they haven't lost to a team that you would say is a bad team. They've gone out and they've basically taken care of business against the poorer teams with the Saints and the Cardinals and the Falcons. And the Giants have got a decent defense, but have struggled on offense. And the Panthers and the Browns, and they've gone and beaten these teams. But also, they can beat good teams as well. They beat the Seahawks at the beginning. So, the 49ers they're a very good team. They're just too banged up all the time. And unfortunately for them, it has cost them their Super Bowl window, because what will happen is they'll end up playing against the Rams, against the Bucks, against the Texans, one of them teams, so some sort of team in the NFC. They will end up playing against who are a good team and not as banged up, and that'll be the end of it.
So you don't. I think 3 teams will go to the playoffs here in this division.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that all 3 teams will end up in the playoffs
Yeah.
because of their records. I think you've got 5 weeks left. I think you're probably looking at least 2 wins for each of them. So you're looking at least 11 wins.
Yeah.
That's definitely going in. The NFC South is going to be whoever wins, and that's it. There's not going to be anything else from
Yeah.
there. The NFC North, I think you probably end up with the 2 from the
Mm.
NFC North that go in.
Bears and Packers.
I think at the
Yeah.
moment it's very much looking that way, and then obviously you've got the Eagles in the NFC East, and that's it. I think the Cowboys are just too far back for them to be able to get
Mm.
back in, purely because you're going to have these teams in the NFC West.
Yeah.
2 of them, I think, are going to be 11-win teams and are going
Yeah.
to be in the playoffs.
I think I've got 2 teams on 13 and 1 on 12.
Yeah.
I've got the Rams and Hawks going 13 and 4, and the 49ers going 12 and 5.
I mean, I think that's fair enough. They're absolutely blitzing them, aren't they? A lot of the opposition.
Mm.
The Seahawks are better than the Falcons, the Colts, the
Yeah.
Panthers, and
So
I
yeah,
think that I think they are better than the 49ers, I have to say.
the Seahawks have got at Atlanta, hosting Indianapolis, hosting the Rams, at Carolina, at San Francisco. The
Yeah.
Rams at Carolina, hosting Detroit, at Seattle, at Atlanta, and then hosting Arizona. And then the Niners got a bye week coming into this week, just now, this weekend coming, sorry. And then they host the Titans, at the Colts, host the Bears, host the Seahawks. I mean, they only got to go on that's why they only got to go on the road once in the next 4 games of the Niners. That's why I've got it so high there. Like, I think they could easily win 3 games. I think they could beat the Titans, beat the Colts, and potentially beat the Bears. Really, the Niners. I believe it. Like I said, I think if all 3 of these go 10 plus, which is incredibly likely, they all
Yeah.
go in. They all go
Yeah.
in, and
I think they
they're all going to
definitely
get 10
both
plus.
win 2 games.
Say again.
I think they definitely, like all 3 of them, I think definitely both win 2 games. And
Mm.
if you're going to be on 11 and 6, you're going to be in.
Yeah, and that'll be. I mean, when was the last time that happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Seahawks have struggled, haven't they, for
Mm.
quite a while? Obviously, it's all been about the 49ers, hasn't it, for the last few years in the NFC West. So I think it's been a while since this has happened. But yeah, I mean, it's looking like a very strong division, and it'll be surprising if they don't. I also think once you reach the playoffs, no one's going to want to play any of them.
Do you think that one of these 3 teams will make the NFC Championship?
Well, I mean, I predicted the Rams to win the Super Bowl. So
Well, no, I was going to say, do you think one of these 3 will get to the Super Bowl? But really, it's more that will they get to the championship, I suppose. But I suppose Super Bowl, but by the law of averages, one of them probably will be in the
well,
NFC Championship.
I actually think, I mean, the NFC is a very look. When you look at it, it feels like the Rams and Seahawks are the 2 teams that are the most all-round
Mm.
teams. I think the Packers have got themselves in a position where if they play like they played against the Lions on Thanksgiving, then they are with them. I
Yeah,
think that's what you're dealing with. The Eagles are struggling at the moment. Offensively, they're just struggling. It's not really
yeah.
working.
I
The
mean, the Bears are
Buccaneers are
riding their luck a bit.
the Buccaneers are banged up, and I just don't think that the Bears are. Firstly, I think they're where they are because of who they've played, but also I think they're just kind of on a bit of a run, and
Mm.
eventually they're going to hit a tough defense, and that'll be the end of them.
Yeah,
So it feels like on the NFC that the 3 big teams that could potentially be the 3 big teams are the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Packers. What it wouldn't shock me at all if the NFC Championship game was the Rams against the Seahawks.
I mean that would. I feel like that'd be what we'd want that to be our Super Bowl in a way. You think that'd be such an electric game, and yeah, it's going to be really fun to see how the NFC West progresses over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. I hope you have liked and subscribed to it on YouTube as well as on all podcast platforms. Make sure you also check out our social media as well on all of the relevant platforms. Thank you, Adam, again for joining me, and thank you again, and we'll see you all again very soon.